Okay, now what you have in front of you, these are some examples of some of the different types of brackets that I've used on my projects throughout the years of my workshop. I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about each one of these and some of the qualities that they have as well. Okay. So first one we're going to start off with is we're going to start off with this bracket right here. Okay. Now one of the things about this bracket is this is a typical bracket that I would use on my projects. As you can see, now what this does is this bracket is designed if you want to make things like corner brackets and things like that. If you have a project and you want to basically connect two pieces of wood together material, you can put one piece here, a mount here, and then the other piece would mount like this. So, for example, if you want to make a, let me grab a piece of wood so I can show you. Okay, for example, if you were building an arcade cabinet, and this is the side of your cabinet, and you wanted to attach a bracket underneath to put casters on, that's where this would come in handy. You could attach this to the cabinet like this, and then this would attach here like this, and then basically you would have bolts that go through here, and then you would have bolts that go through here. This would be good if you wanted to make a corner bracket on an arcade cabinet. This would be a good one to use to make a corner bracket on right here with a position like this right here. Okay, so you would have bolts going through here, then you have bolts going through here, and then this basically would give you the strength you need to hold the cabinet together. My Miss Pac-Man cabinet and things that I have that I constructed, where the casters and things mount to the bottom, there's casters mounted underneath that use I-beams. These are used a lot on that cabinet in particular. I've used a lot of these brackets and things on my arcade machines. Now, one thing you're going to notice that this bracket has that's kind of cool is, this bracket is made out of brass. You can get brackets made out of different materials depending on what you're going to be using them for. Now this is designed, this bracket is designed basically to be outdoors because it's made of a pretty durable material to withstand outdoor use, and that's one of the reasons why it's made of the material that this is made of. It actually accepts bolts and things too, but one of the things that's nice about this bracket too is, if you look at the bracket, you can see in here there's a little divot. There's like a little divot in here. It's almost like a little bump in here. This is actually designed to add extra strength to this bracket, which is kind of cool. It gives a little extra strength by having that little divot there. As you can see in the back here, they actually press the metal to give it a little bit more strength. Now, typically when you buy brackets like this, if you go to Home Depot and things, you can get a bracket like this either individually, or you can also buy a bracket like this in a pack, usually of 4. Now, the thing to keep in mind is the size bracket that you're going to use is going to be determined by what you're trying to hold together, and also the type of materials and things and the weight involved. It's always better with brackets. What I found in the past, always go with a larger bracket than you think you might need in some cases. And most of the time I go with the next size up on what I need because it gives it extra strength, and that way I'm sure I have a bracket that's going to be strong enough to do the job. So as you can see, this is one of the larger brackets that I use, and this one's made out of brass, and this one supports bolts and is used for cabinets. Okay. Now the next one I'm going to show you, this is very similar to the one that I just showed you. Now this was made by National. Now you're going to notice there's a difference here. It looks very similar to the one I just showed you. However, if you look at the size, you're going to notice that the brass one is bigger than the one I have here. It's actually larger than. This is just made out of standard steel. This is made out of bracket. As you can see here in the pictures, this one is actually larger than this one here. Now, the larger brackets that you buy like this, what's going to be the factors, you're going to have your holes. Generally, the larger the bracket, the farthest spaced apart the holes are that you're going to attach the bolts. So that's one thing to keep in mind. This is a smaller bracket, as you can see, so the holes are closer together. Now, one thing you're going to notice on this bracket, it doesn't have the reinforcing, it doesn't have that ridge. Remember the other one I showed you was pressed? How this one was pressed in here? It has like a little divot in here that's actually pressed in here for strength. This one doesn't have that. So this is not as strong a bracket as the one I just showed you because it doesn't have that little ridge. Now, it basically works the same. It has bolts and things that hold it together. It works the same as the other one, but it's not quite as strong. And you're also going to notice it's smaller. So this would not be able to hold as much weight when you're building a project as the one I just showed you. Okay? All right. Now we're going to go with another one. Now this one's even smaller. This is the one I just showed you. Now this bracket here is even smaller. Now this is also made by National, but you're going to notice something too. Now this is designed for if you have smaller spaces. As you're going to see, the bolt holes are even more closer together, and this is designed for lighter material. If you look at my bar top, if you go to my channel, look at my bar top arcade machine videos, the 60-in-1 bar top arcade machine. The 60-in-1 bar top arcade machine uses brackets very similar to this. They don't need to be real strong, but it can still hold bolts and hold everything together, but it doesn't need to be as heavy as the other brackets that I showed you. The cabinets like I built, like my arcade machines that I built, will use the brackets very similar to this because of the weight that's involved. A bar top cabinet, being it doesn't have as much weight involved, it doesn't need to be as strong, we'll use a bracket like this, okay? All right, now the next bracket I'm going to show you, this is an even smaller bracket. Now this is going to be used, places that use this are going to be a little more limited because of the fact this is a smaller bracket, okay? Now you're going to notice it has the same qualities where you can put bolts through it, but you're going to notice that it's smaller, okay? Now one thing to keep in mind too is that generally, if you remember I was saying the smaller the bracket, the closer the holes are together. Now this would be a bracket that would be used if you have a fairly tight space, not real heavy woods or heavy applications, but if you have a little tighter space, this would work out pretty well too. Sometimes you're going to have an issue where if a bracket's too big, it won't fit into an area that you're trying to work with. That's where a smaller bracket like this would come in handy here. Okay, as you can see here, this is a smaller bracket. Okay, now keep in mind too, this is also made by National, the same ones that made the other ones that I showed you. But the one thing you want to keep in mind is if you're painting a project, a lot of times brackets like this, you can use paint on brackets like this as well. I use the Krylon to paint these, and that also helps if I have a project that I'm working with. Most of these brackets can take a coat of paint like Krylon or something like that you're using, like a spray paint. So you can paint these brackets based on what you need and on your project. Okay. Now the next bracket I'm going to show you, this is a specialty bracket. Okay. Now what this bracket is this is actually a bracket that was out of one of my arcade machines. Now I haven't used this on any of my cabinets lately, but what this has in it is, if you're going to notice, it actually has a hole in the back of it. There's actually a hole through the center of the bracket. Now what this would be used for is, if you mount this onto an arcade cabinet, okay, this would give you room to basically pass a wire through here if you need to. That's what this little ridge here would be for. You would essentially drill a hole in your cabinet, and then you could basically pass a wire through here, or something else if you needed a lock bar or something like that. It could actually go through here like this, like I'm showing you, just like that. That's where a specialty bracket like this would come in handy. Now, you're also going to notice that this bracket is designed to have screws. It's not designed to use bolts. This is designed more to have screws because it's not a real heavy duty bracket for holding things together like the other ones were. So it doesn't have bolt holes like the other ones did to hold things together. This is designed for a lighter duty use, but if you need to have a bracket where you can pass a wire or a bar through, that's what this one here would be used for. Okay. Now the final one I'm going to show you, this is a mini bracket. Now what this is used for is, this has the ability to have holes inside, okay? Now you're going to notice that one of the things about this bracket that's unique is it does have a divot in here. You're going to see on the back, it's crimped in the back for strength, as you can see here. And as you can see here, you can actually see there where it goes through for strength. But now one of the things, this is going to be used if you have a very tight space. It's not designed for a whole lot of strength. It's designed to basically hold things like, for example, if you were building a bar top arcade machine and you needed to maybe hold the glass in place, that's where this bracket here would come in place. It's not a real heavy duty bracket, but it's one that would be very functional to have, especially if you have a limited amount of room. That's where the smaller bracket here would come in handy. Okay, so as you can see in this video, I basically just showed you six different types of brackets that I use on my projects. And the thing to remember is, the size bracket and things you have is going to be determined by the type of project that you're working on. Well, one of the things I was going to suggest is, if you're building a project and you do need to join two pieces together, I would. For example, if you want to hook these two pieces together, this piece of wood and this piece of wood, and you want to put them together, that's where these brackets would really come in handy. I've used these brackets extensively in a lot of my projects, and I found that they've been worked out very well for everything that I've needed. Even if you go to my LGB Skyway train layout I have on my thing, that also uses brackets like these, but that project actually uses brackets that are much larger. They're actually they're almost the ones that I used on that. If I remember correctly, I think they're about 6 inches long by 6 inches high. Those are designed for really heavy duty applications like holding up heavy weights and things like that. That's what sort of thing that I use on the train layout that I build as well. I hope that this video has been helpful in showing you some different types of brackets and things you can use for your project. And remember, there are other types of brackets that are also available, but these are the ones that I use most commonly in my workshop. And hopefully this is going to give you some ideas if you're trying to join things together, the type of brackets that you have out there available to you as well. And if you go to Home Depot, you're going to also find they have a lot more brackets and everything too, in various sizes and also different materials and things like that as well that you might be able to use for your project. I hope that this video has been very helpful to you, and as always, I want to thank you again for supporting the channel, and I hope you'll have a great day, okay? Take care now. Bye-bye now.